I am going to tell you the greatest story ever told. This is a story born in beauty, baptized in fire, and shattered by iron. This is the story of how a nation's soul was forged through absolute heartbreak. To understand Mexico, we have to look up. Long before the stone of the pyramids was laid, there was the feathered serpent Quetzalcoatl. He was not always a god of the sky. He earned his divinity through sacrifice and wisdom. While other forces demanded blood and terror, Quetzalcoatl became the god of the morning star. But a god, as mighty as they might be, cannot rule alone. Together, with the radiant Aztec sun, Quetzalcoatl looked down upon a void and decided to create the world. It was a cosmic partnership. The sun provided the blazing, raw energy to spark life, while Quetzalcoatl wove the wind through the valley, giving the earth its breath. Together, they sculpted the mountains, filled the lakes, and painted the sky. First, the corn. To the peoples of the valley, corn was sacred flesh. The gods literally sculpted the first true humans out of corn, bones, and their own flesh. Corn, as well as chili, represents survival, community, and our literal connection to the soil. Then, at its hearth, there is the cactus. Resilient, fierce, and capable of thriving in the harshest deserts, yielding a sweet fruit attracting between them, the hummingbird. It was believed that warriors who died in battle were reborn as hummingbirds, eternally tasting the sweetness of the sky, feeding on the corn, grounded by the cactus, and inspired by the hummingbird. A nomadic tribe wandered into the Valley of Mexico. Guided by a vision of an eagle on a cactus, they founded Tenochtitlan. And we should not forget that every empire requires ultimate protection. On one side, we have the jaguar warrior, emerging from the deep midnight shadows of the jungle, proudly wearing the spotted pelts of the apex predator. He represented the raw, silent power of the earth. On the other side stood their cosmic opposites. The eagle warriors, claiming the clarity of the daytime sky. They wore helmets sculpted into fierce eagle beaks, their arms covered in feathers. If the jaguar was the earth, the eagle was the sun. Together, these two factions were the muscle, the pride, and the unbreakable shield of a civilization at its absolute peak. And right at the dead center of this historical canvas, we meet a woman whose name is etched into the very soil, Malinali, better known to history as La Malinche. She was a woman of immense intelligence, caught between worlds when the strangers eventually arrived. She became the voice, the translator, the bridge of skin and words. Her role is deeply complex, split between romance and a fierce survival instinct. She stood at the literal crossroads of destiny, holding the tongue that would dismantle one world to birth another. Because things were perfect until the prophecy returned. For centuries, legend whispered that Quetzalcoatl, who had left across the eastern sea, would one day return to reclaim his kingdom. Emperor Moctezuma looked at the horizon with dread. And then, the ships arrived. The prophecy became a curse. The Aztecs welcomed the invaders, thinking their god had returned, only to find that the strangers brought not wisdom, but ashes. It all culminated on a night of pouring rain and absolute slaughter, La Noche Triste, the sad night. The city engulfed in fire overnight. Quetzalcoatl cried. The empire fought with the ferocity of dying gods, driving the invaders out of the city temporarily. But the wheels of tragedy were already turning. The man leading that metallic storm was the conquistador Hernán Cortés, driven by an insatiable hunger for gold and empire. Cortés changed the course of global history forever, brought down the great tower of Tenochtitlan, where a living civilization once sang to the sun. Cortés left a stark, cold skull of colonization. The Aztec Empire was brought completely to its knees, but from the bleeding ashes of the conquest, the blending of indigenous blood and Spanish iron, the mestizo was born. The spirit of the jaguar and the eagle didn't die, it simply mutated. The old empire was gone, and New Spain rose in its place. The colonial era officially locked into reality, with the arrival of the very first viceroy, Antonio de Mendoza.